Hello everyone. My name is Louise. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing so good today. We're doing a book haul, and it has technically been a while since I've done a traditional book haul on my channel. I think the last one I did was maybe 4 months ago, but I did insert a book haul into my Portland Book Festival video where I kind of chat about the sessions and all of the books that I bought there, of which there were many. These are the rest of the books that I have acquired in the last, I think, again, 4 months. So there's a decent amount. I did not count in advance. Maybe we'll count at the end. I will also say I'm very eternally grateful because most of the books that we're talking about here have been gifted to me. There are 4 that I brought into my library on my own. Either I bought them or one is from a little free library, and then the rest are gifted. So we're going to start with the gifted books and then head into the ones that I brought in. And partly why I've been gifted so many books, this is not normal, is because my birthday is in November, and then of course Christmas is in December. So that's like 2 gift-giving holidays back to back for me. So a lot of these are from that. In addition to those gift-giving holidays, I also saw my mother-in-law in November, and as we know on this channel, she gifts me lots of books after she reads them. So I have some of those as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Firstly, we have, 5 books that came from my brother and my sister-in-law. 3 came for Christmas, 2 came for my birthday. So the 3 that came for Christmas, they're just on top, we'll go with those first, are Fowl Eulogies by Lucie Rico. This is translated from the French by Daria Cherneshevya, and it's published by World Editions. I love this cover. I think it's stunning. I've wanted this for so long, but it's slightly backlist now, so I can't find it in my local indies. So I knew I need to get it ordered from one. So they kindly did that for me. This one is following our main character whose mother has recently died, and she inherits the chicken farm where she grew up that her family owned. Our main character is a vegetarian, so it's a bit of a culture shift, I think, going back to the chicken farm. She's trying to kind of put her own spin on the family business. She starts to find, it says, increasingly intricate ways of helping the chickens to self-actualize before their deaths. And I think she starts writing eulogies, hence the title, for all of the chickens and sends that out on the packaging for people who buy the chickens after they're butchered. I just think that's such a quirky concept. I also think this is going to be dealing with grief because it's mentioning that her mother has died recently. So really excited to finally have my hands on this one and can't wait to read it. Next one that they got me is Short War. This is by Meyer, and it's published by Deep Vellum. It's published by one of their imprints, A Strange Object. And this one doesn't have a blurb on it. It just has kind of praise for it. But what I remember from reading it on my computer is we're following a couple different perspectives. I think there's also a big time jump. So we follow a young boy who is an American living in Chile because his father works for the government in some capacity. He thinks his father might work for the CIA. And there is this large political element to this book about how the US's interference with the Chilean government, causing a coup, essentially has had deep ramifications and fractures for that country, which that's definitely an interesting element and part of why I want to read it. But we follow this young boy, and he meets the love of his life while he's living there. But his family at some point, we know, is going to go back to the US. So then we get this time jump of his daughter who decides to go back to Chile because she's working on her dissertation and thinks that going back there will help her kind of get out of her rut and help her with some research. So I think I like this generational vibe that we're getting. The kind of CIA father, his son growing up as an expat essentially, coming back to the US, having a daughter who then goes back, right? There's lots of things going on here, and I can't wait for this. And again, there's tons of praise for this book. There's all the ones on the back, plus there's pages of praise in the beginning as well. So I'm excited. That is Short War by Meyer. And then they also got me, I'm very excited about this one, Woodworm by Layla Martinez. This one is translated from the Spanish by Sophie Hughes and Annie McDermott and published by Two Lines Press. I've wanted this one for a while, and I tried picking it up at the Portland Book Festival because I got to see Layla talk about this book there, but they were totally sold out. So I put it on my Christmas list for my family, and they got it for me. They delivered. This one is a haunted house novel that takes place in a small Spanish village, and we're following a couple of generations of women who are all maids, and they are living in extreme poverty, and the only way for them to get revenge on all these men and kind of like corrupt government officials is to cast spells. So that's the gist of what I know. I'm really excited for all the class dynamics in this. I'm really excited to get to read what is a very personal story for Layla Martinez. There's a lot of personal elements from her own life put in this, and yeah, I can't wait. So that is Woodworm. This is also just a stunning edition. It's like a cloth bound hardcover edition, so very happy to have it. Then we have the two books that I got for my birthday. The first one being Rhine Journey by Schlee. This is published by McNally Editions, who produce beautiful, beautiful books. And I mean, just look at this landscape on the cover. It's extremely gorgeous. This one takes place in 1851, and we're following a cast of characters that are all on a like peddler steamer boat going down a river. And I think our main protagonist is named Charlotte, and she comes across as like very meek, very mindful, very demure. And I think something happens in one of the stops. She meets someone and has an encounter with them, and this kind of starts to unravel her. She has this awakening, but I think it actually gets a little dark at the same time. I think there's like this moment of like disillusionment, and she goes a little sideways in her rage is the vibe that I'm getting from the blurb. So yeah, really excited for this one. And I mean, I just can't get over that. I'll never get over it. It's amazing. And then the other one I got from my brother and sister-in-law, again, still so excited, is Two-Step Devil by Jamie Quatro. This one is by Grove. Is it one of their imprints or just by Grove? It's just by the main one. I do own another Jamie Quatro book, Fire Sermon, that I have not read, so hopefully I will get to that soon. Also adore this cover. I mean, come on. This one has a wild plot. It's about a young girl who like gets found by this old kind of prophet man, or this guy who thinks he's a prophet, but the girl is being like kidnapped, like held hostage, and he rescues her, takes her out to the country where he lives. And I think we're trying to figure out, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he a little bit of both? What's going on there? I think this also has some religious commentary as well, because he sees himself as kind of like a religious cult leader. So yeah, can't wait for this one. Amazing. Love it. Now we're going to get into the books that were gifted by my mother-in-law. So again, thank you to her as well. And she mainly reads, I would say, thrillers mostly, but also does some historical fiction, some romance lately. So I think that's what we have here. First up, we have The Midnight Feast by Lucie Foley. This one is by William Morrow, who I think has published all of her books in the US so far. I have read several other Lucie Foleys before, and I've really enjoyed them. She definitely has wild, wild plots, and I don't think this one is any different. And I believe this one might have a speculative element to it, because it's talking about folklore in here as well. So we shall see. I'm very excited to have another Lucie Foley in the house. And she does have these really great blurbs on the back that talk about the like stereotypical archetypes of characters that it's going to have in here. And this one says, "Welcome to the opening weekend of The Manor, a luxury resort built on top of old secrets in an ancient forest. The founder, the husband, the mystery guest, the kitchen help. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone has a past, but not everyone will survive." Bum, bum, bum. So that is The Midnight Feast. Excited. Then we have The Searcher by Tana French. This one's published by Viking. And this one, is this the one that just got the sequel? I honestly have no idea. I have not read Tana French before, even though I know she has that really famous series that I don't remember the name of. But I own the Witch Elm, which I think is a standalone, and haven't read it yet because it's huge. This one's also fairly chunky. So I'm down to try out a new crime author. This one is, I think, a detective novel. Okay, yeah, so it's following Cal Hooper, who used to be in the Chicago police force, is recently divorced, and is just trying to build a new life for themselves. But a local kid comes to ask for his help because his brother has gone missing. So I think that's the story that we're following there. If anyone has read this, please let me know what they thought about it, because again, I have not read Tana French before, so I'm hoping she will be a good fit for me. And then we have a thriller, maybe mystery, I'm not really sure which one it falls under, that was very popular this past year. That is All the Colors of the Dark by Whitaker. This one is published by Crown, who I'm not familiar with. I'm sure that's probably an imprint of someone. Yeah, an imprint of Penguin Random House, which should have guessed. But this one I know nothing about. So let me read the blurb and then I'll tell you. The very bottom is where it has the catchy bits. It says, a missing person mystery, a serial killer thriller, a love story, a unique twist on each. All the Colors of the Dark is about what lurks in the shadows of obsession and the blinding light of hope. And I have heard that there is a romance element to this, which feels kind of out of my comfort zone, but I know a lot of people loved it, so I'm at least willing to try it. Another big boy for a thriller. This is over 500 pages, so this would be a Picante Beef Baby if I read it, so maybe this might be one of the ones I pick up in 2025. And then lastly, from my mother-in-law, we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is published by Forever. Also not familiar with that. I'm sure it's a romance imprint of one of the big five. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is done by Hachette. This one I know is in a series by Abby Jimenez that is extremely popular, but it's a companion series like a lot of romance books do, so you don't necessarily need to read them in order. Again, I've heard so many good things about this Abby Jimenez series. I think the first one is Part of Your World. This is the second one. The third one is Just for the Summer, and then the fourth one is coming out in 2025. I have interest in reading them, so I'm really excited to have this one, but I do think I'm going to try and read them in publication order. So I'm going to try and pick up Part of Your World first, and then I will be getting over to this one. The link is that it all takes place around this hospital that a lot of the lead characters, I think particularly the heroines, work at in some capacity. And I think that is also true of this one. So other than that, not really sure, but I know they're going to end up together in the end, and it's much beloved. So that's good enough for me. So that is Yours Truly. Okay, now we're going to get into the 4 books that I have bought or got from a Little Free Library. Let's start with the Little Free Library one. Sorry, I just slammed them down. That is Trespasses by Louise Kennedy. This is published by Bloomsbury, and I have had this on my library holds for ever. So when I saw it in a Little Free Library, I snatched it right up. This was up for the Women's Prize a couple of years ago, I believe. For 2023, and it was shortlisted. And this takes place in 1970s Ireland. I've heard it's very hard-hitting, and I don't often go towards historical novels, but this one is one I think could really work for me. And I'm not really basing that on anything other than some of the reviews that I saw for it at the time, so we shall see, but I'm willing to try and happy to have it. Then the 3 that I actually purchased for myself, let's see, I think 2 of them were pre-orders. The first one was Time of the Flies by Claudia Pineiro, translated from the Spanish by Francis Riddle and published by Charco Press. I loved Claudia Pineiro's Elena Knows, and I've picked up the 2 things that Charco Press has published by her since. She is pretty prolific, has a lot of novels, but they have not all been translated into English, so I've been glad that they have been coming out with them. This one is a little bit confusing for a release because I think this is technically part 2 in a series, and they have not published the first one in that series. Now, I'm assuming they did that because you can read this as a standalone, but I know you can get, I think the first one is called All Yours in English, just not from Charco Press. So I might try and read that one first just to get the kind of full intended experience. But honestly, I will pick up any Claudia Pineiro that Charco Press releases at this point. So I'm not going to read the blurb in case it does spoil some things, because I am going to try and read the first one in the series before this. But no, I'm expecting this to be amazing, and also a chunkier one. A lot of these are chunky babies. Next up, in terms of pre-orders, we have May Our Joy Endure. This is by Kevin Lambert, and it's translated from the French by Donald Winkler, and it's published by Biblioasis. I also love this cover. Oh my gosh. This won a ton of awards in France when it first came out. And I'm interested in this one because it deals with cancel culture, kind of. So we're following Celine, who has this kind of like mega project in Montreal that she wants to produce. But essentially, she gets canceled. It gets a ton of flack and she gets canceled. She gets deposed as the CEO, and she kind of has to pick up the pieces of her life. But I do think she kind of like doubles down and tries to dig even deeper, and it might go off the rails a bit. This is talking about privilege and power and wealth, and it sounds great. So that is May Our Joy Endure. And lastly, I picked this book up at Powell's when I was down in Portland for the Portland Book Festival, and that is Season of Migration to the North by Tayib Salih. And there's an introduction by Layla Lalami, whom I love, and this one is translated by Dennis Johnson Davies. Not that Dennis Johnson, Dennis is spelled differently, but Dennis Johnson Davies, and translated from the Arabic and published by New York Review Books. Honestly, I didn't even pick this book up for the blurb. I picked it up for this one reason, that in 2001, it was selected by a panel of Arab writers and critics as the most important Arab novel of the 20th century. And that's why I picked it up. I don't even know what it's about. I am not even gonna read the blurb. That is Season of Migration to the North. And those are the books that I've brought into my collection, mainly gifted to me into my collection. Very excited to have all of them. And now I need to go get to work on reading them. So please let me know if you are interested in any of these books down below, and we will chat about them. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Bye.